Mr. Borgen for 5 minutes.
I'd like to begin by thanking Congressman Jim Jordan and other members of the committee for giving me the opportunity to testify. Nearly 2 years ago, on May 20th, 2021, I received a call no parent should ever receive. On the other hand, it was my son Joseph, who quickly told me he was okay, but be beaten out of Times Square. He was needing medical attention. He handed the phone to the NYPD, who were extremely helpful and very supportive, and did the best they possibly can. I was told they'd bring him to the emergency room in Bellevue Hospital. Without hesitation, I made a straight beeline straight to Manhattan, got in my car, and drove to Manhattan. I got to the hospital. It was hard to believe what my son looked like. His face was beaten. His face was sprayed with mace. They punched him. One fella hit him with crutches. In Times Square, broad daylight, all because he's wearing a yarmulke going to a pro-Israel rally. Now, I'm in New York my whole life. I'm 57. Never had problems like this. It was just very shocking to hear this. It was just like horrible thing. My wife was at home. She couldn't come with me. It was COVID. Only one person go to the hospital. I sit in front of the community, 2-year anniversary of the attack rapidly approaching, and the ongoing struggle with D.A. Bragg. This has been going on for 2 years. They have a film of this in black and white from people on the street in Times Square. It's an open and shut case. And D.A. Bragg is just schlepping this case along with no solution, offering deal after deal. One fella, Wasim Awade, was hitting my son with crutches, was offered a sweetheart deal, didn't take it yet. He was let out on probation. As he's getting out of the court, as you can see, as he's getting out of jail, the friends are dancing with him on his shoulder. He said, "I will do this again." I will do this again. He had no qualms about doing it again, about beating up another Jewish person. And in fact, while he was out on bail, he had an incident with a road rage with an elderly man on the street. Bragg brought him in, again, nothing. Just go out and behave yourself. This just emboldened him to act, and he doesn't care. I've been in 3 court hearings, and basically nothing has happened in 3 court hearings here in Lower Manhattan, a couple buildings down. And it's just very disheartening that I sit here today and nothing is getting done. My son Joseph was invited to the White House to appear in front of Joe Biden, our president, and a bunch of Kamala Harris and so forth. And this was not a partisan issue. There's an issue where they were beating up Asians in New York nonstop, no repercussions. Beating up Jews, pushing people in the subways, in the tracks, no repercussions. It's hard to understand what goes on. And here this one fellow was offered a deal, no jail time. He only punched my son once. This is what Bragg was offering to someone. Hit my son once. Okay, one time. Okay, we'll give you a slap on the wrist. You go and play video games for 6 months. It's just disgusting. Now, in the past couple of years since the incident happened, my son had surgery on his wrist. He likes to play basketball. He's very uncomfortable to play basketball. And it's just some other things that affect his whole life. It's just a terrible, terrible thing. He has physical therapy 3 days a week. And these 6 individuals are walking the streets, roaming around, like nothing, not a care in the world. And it's almost 2 years. I mean, unfortunately, down to Madeline, so it's 4 years. It's horrible. They're pushing plea bargains back before nothing gets done. We have heard from, when my son got beaten up by these 6 individuals, we heard from many politicians. But I must quote Mayor Adams or the candidate, Governor Hochul, I must take notice with Mr. Nadler. You're a Jewish New Yorker. I called your office numerous times. I called Mr. Schumer's office, another Jewish New Yorker, numerous times. No one called us back. Neither one of you came out of statement on my son's incident. Okay? You're a Jewish New Yorker. You have Jewish roots here. Behavior like this enables D.A. Bragg to just do whatever he wants to do. If you guys would have come out with a statement from Washington and said, we condemn this beating to Mr. Borgen's son. We condemn we condemn this act. Maybe Mr. Bragg would have taken this case a little more seriously, and I call you out on it. And most of my friends, I am so disheartened with you and Mr. Schumer, you don't understand. We wouldn't vote for Mr. Schumer again if we still on that head. And if I lived in Manhattan, I wouldn't vote for you either. And I will tell you something else that bothers me. Everybody's here with gun control. Somehow the criminals can get guns. But the average person in New York can't get a gun. I just came back from Miami after 2 weeks. All my friends who moved out there, many of my friends, all have gun licenses. And there's a deterrent there. If someone goes after you, there's a chance that the person they're going to attack has a way to defend himself. Here in New York, we can't get guns. The criminals walk around shooting people, get guns nonstop. It's unbelievable. And a gun charge comes to Mr. Bragg. Misdemeanor, no problem, walk the streets. I remember Plaxico Burress, if you remember, the New York Giants was a wide receiver. He was in a nightclub. The Giants were 10-1. He went to a nightclub, accidentally shot himself with a gun. I think Robin Morgenthau was a DA at the time. Plaxico Burress went to jail for 18 months, if you remember. He was a football star in New York. They need him. They would run the Super Bowl again. Here in New York now, you come with a gun. Okay, don't do it again. We'll see you again. It's just this disgusting, and it's a chutzpah what goes on. It's a Jewish word, chutzpah. What goes on in this district, I haven't been in Manhattan for social events. I will not come for a restaurant. I'll not come to the garden for a ball game. I won't go to a Broadway show. I will not set foot in Manhattan. I have a friend of mine who likes to go to Broadway shows, matinees. You know what they do now? They get a group of 30 people. They get on a bus, park in front of the theater, walk into the theater. Don't walk around, no shopping. Then they get on a bus, go to a predetermined restaurant, and they walk out to the restaurant, go on a bus, and go home. That's all the interaction I have in Manhattan. I'd just like to say thank you for listening to me, and I hope some good comes from this.
Thank you, Mr. Borgen. We please pass along our best to your son. The chair would just ask the press.